Mark Smith with Family Tree Brand Life Coaches. And I am doing the show all by my lonesome tonight. My wife needs a little break. Not a break from you, but just a break to chill out and take care of herself tonight. So y'all are stuck with me. And so I have several agendas here today. Let me turn this thing on where I can see your little messages. How's everybody this evening? Hi, Soren. Okay, Ginger is in the house. Sarah's in the house. Leslie, Kelly, all the usual suspects are in the house. So I may not be quite as Hi Tiffany interactive tonight because I've got a bunch of questions to answer. Jackie. And first I had an announcement about Renda. That's sort of cool. And then I wanted to talk about my rough day. I had a rough day. And then I have an announcement, and in case y'all haven't heard, which most of you have, about Jerry Wise. And then I'm going to answer questions. So just hang with me. Oh, Mark had a rough day. Steve had triple bypass. Good for you. Recovering well. So what happened with Renda is she was contacted by a national radio station, and next Monday, I believe it is next Monday, she is going to do an 8-minute interview on a national radio broadcast talking about her work. I think that happened to me once in 30 years, and this is her second year, I think, of Renspire, and something's echoing. Is anybody else echoing? Echoing. It's just me. Let me know if it's echoing. It shouldn't be. Should not be. So, isn't that cool that Brenda, I think she made that really cool ad that was all digitized and badass, and she was recognized for that. And now she's going to be preaching the Rinspire word on a national stage. So that's pretty awesome. Proud of her. Okay, so my rough day. Actually, it was a great day, but got to the afternoon. Hey, Denise, how you doing? That ad was vibrant. Hi, Elizabeth. So what happened? It was sort of a sparky, smoky day for me. I looked over and my salt lamp was non-functional, and instead of calling for Jeff to replace it, hi Jill again, I decided to take the task upon myself. So I got the light bulb unscrewed, and then I thought I'll secure this wire on this little fake motorcycle, which evidently had some metal in it, and it exploded, and there was like smoke, and it wasn't a big explosion. So told Jeff, yeah, I need some new innards, but then I didn't unplug it. And then this afternoon I had a client, and then it blew up again, except it blew all the lights out. So, and I told her, never in my 30 years of being a therapist has that happened before. And she's like, dude, I feel cursed. This is a bad sign. I'm trying to do some deep therapy here, and the universe is blowing me up and leaving me in the dark. So then I had to switch rooms, and then I had to have a difficult conversation family tree. We're in the process of getting a new office space, and we found this really cool space, but there's not quite enough rooms in the inn, and it was just, as a codependent, sometimes it's hard to give less than positive news. But I manned up and gave the news, and it's all good. And then the guy came and fixed the short, and I had power again. I moved all my stuff back over, and it's all good. So, okay, so I'll quit whining about that. And the third thing is, as you guys, most of you know, Jerry Wise, who has been, hi Annie, has been following our channel, and he has about 100 videos on our channel, but he hasn't made anything new because he needed to branch out for various reasons, which included narcissistic abuse by proxy. He sort of took a grenade from afar that had nothing to do with him, had more to do with my past. But so it broke my heart, and it broke Jerry's heart. Broke Brenda's heart that he couldn't work with us. But now we've worked out a deal where he's going to be on our channel. He can't come work at our practice, but he's going to be on our channel. We loaded his first video up, something like 16 traits of spouses of narcissists, and it's done good. It's got 1,000 views in like 2 days. So watch that video. Hi Zach. Give Jerry love and support, and he says he needs a fire lit under him to make more videos. Hi Nikki. So I want you guys all to email Jerry. I think it's jwlearning at, I think it's hotmail.com, but you can look it up. But email Jerry and get on his ass and say, dude, make videos. Outback Jacks. Hey man, what's up? So I'm just thrilled. It's something that's going to help his life coaching consulting business thrive, and it's going to make the bell ring here over at Family Tree brand life coaches too. Okay, enough rambling by me. I have questions, and I'm going to go ahead and read them. So hold on to your questions. And Tiffany says Jerry's video was terrific. This particular video he made at a really swanky resort in Arizona. And I know y'all are, devastated, hurricane eyes, tsunami eyes, destroyed emotionally, financially, career-wise, and none of us are spending a lot of time at a swanky resorts. And so, anyway, Jerry has somewhat of a different clientele. He caters to really, really rich folks, but he caters to everybody who is teachable and who wants to get better and wants to heal. So I'm just kidding. But don't feel ill-used if you see the background and think Jerry hangs out there a lot. He usually hangs out in Kokomo, Indiana. All right. This is from an anonymous individual. I haven't read these, so I'm flying by the seat of my drawers tonight. Hi, Vanessa. Outback Check says they were just thinking about life, and then you came live. So here we're going to talk about life. So this is from an anonymous source. Hi, Mark. Thanks for asking for some questions for tonight. I'd appreciate though if you didn't use my name, so we're not going to. So if a person acts this way, which she's going to describe here in a moment, this way, what type of personality could it possibly be? here's what they do. They're controlling. Okay, when they come to a gathering, they phone into the house to get you to move your car further in so they can park behind you. Are you fucking kidding me? Pardon my language. Potty mouth tonight. They talk louder than others, almost piercing your eardrums. They interrupt everybody's conversations. They disagree with everyone. They have to be right. They make sure that if you can't meet at certain times, they insist on making it that time anyway. Making lots of noise in the group, like putting their coffee cup down way harder, pushing things around the table to make noise and be disruptive. What is that? Yesterday, my friend and I talked so quietly to her, and she still pierced the room with her voice. To me, that sounds like a narcissist. So, doesn't really sound like a borderline. We don't know that they're necessarily histrionic or even antisocial. Sounds like your garden variety creep narcissist. I was in a restaurant, I don't know, 6 months ago. I don't know when it was, but there was a loud talker at the restaurant, and he was just so loud I couldn't even think. And I finally said, "Sir, do you realize how loud you are?" And he wanted to take me outside and fight me. Do you think he was a narcissist? So this person says, it's so weird to watch. Aside from avoiding the person, what would it be? It'd be interesting to know. I wouldn't invite his ass to my parties. Oh, is it him or a her? It's a her. Don't invite her to the party. You know, that's a metaphor for life. What we do when we get narcissistically abused, it's because we invited narcissists to the party of our lives. And so we got to learn to not invite them to the party. So, yeah, generally, Tiffany says it's a damn mean personality disorder. So she says you can call me Martha from Canada. So that's Martha from Canada. To me, everything she did was about power and about being noticed and about bullying. So to me, that sounds like narcissism. So more like a behavioral social control issue. New DSM-3, damn mean personality. But do you see the sense of entitlement, the need for control, the need to be the center of attention, the manipulation? That's narcissism in my opinion. Okay, this is from Suzanne. We'll get a little slurp of coffee first here. Hey, honey, I'm not calling y'all honey. I'm calling my honey. I think she's watching. Could you get me a couple of cough drops when you get a chance? Because my voice is already getting sort of raspy. There's my honey. She got new glasses too, but y'all aren't going to see them because she not. You'll see them next week. Next week, dudes. Next week from the office, Jerry Wise is going to join us, Renda and I, and we're going to interview him and talk about his enterprises and his life coaching and his consulting and his new role as contributor on our channel. And every fourth week, he is going to host the live stream show. He's going to show up at the office, and we're just going to point the camera at him, and we're going to split, and he's going to run the show. And so be ready with your family differentiation questions. So it comes from a whole different, thank you, honey, a whole different perspective than we do, but very much the same, very much family tree-like. So, okay. So this is from Suzanne. I have a question for the church. Question for church. My divorce to my nice narcissistic husband was over finally in December. We have 2 college-age sons who he has subtly pitted against each other over the years and shows blatant favoritism towards the oldest. My youngest even says it out loud. He knows his older brother is Dad's favorite. My ex even said out loud when we were moving out of our marital house, I'm taking the favored person's stuff with me in front of the youngest child. He's very jealous of any time I spend with them and doubles his efforts to spend more time alone with them and buys them expensive gifts. He chooses to travel on business 3 weeks out of each month, missing birthdays, holidays, school, and sporting events, and even the boys' surgery. Seriously? You miss one of your kids' surgeries? Oh my God. Y'all are watching me drink coffee. Okay, they're 22 and 20, and he still monitors their phone bills to see who they're texting, calling, at what time. He monitors their bank accounts. Both of my boys show signs of anger, social anxiety, alternating low self-esteem, and arrogance. I try to get both of them to talk to me, but they hug me, say they love me, and have my back, and everything is okay. Soren's eating spaghetti with sausage. Both say they're okay with the divorce and saw it coming. They roll their eyes sometimes at the mention of their father's name, yet both try to emulate him. It breaks my heart that I didn't recognize this disorder and get out of this toxic marriage sooner to spare them. He is no doubt poisoning them against me. Any suggestions on how to help them? Well, I do have some suggestions for your situation, Suzanne. Walk with integrity, walk with humility, continue to work on yourself in recovery. By the way, Mr. Pauly is chilling. Here, I'm going to pull this forward. I wonder if you can see Mr. Pauly. Ah, catastrophe. There he is. I don't know. Let me get out of the way. The Wonder Dog, Mr. Pauly. All right, now I'm all screwed up. Those of you who love Mr. Pauly will apologize the utter chaos that it took to show him. He's doing better. He was feeling sort of puny, but he's feeling better. Rose is here. Hi, Rose. So, how can I help them? As you live a life of integrity and stability and sanity, they'll figure out who their father is. What I wouldn't do is work against him and form triangles with them against them, because then you're sort of stooping to his level. You can't really help it. If somebody wants to poison somebody against you, they can. But ignore it and stand tall and know who you are. And if they sling mud, wipe it off and put a smile on your face and just continue on down the street. You don't have to throw mud back. So get healthy, and I assume you're out of this. This is your ex, not somebody you're involved in. But they'll figure out who he is, and they will limit contact and walk away, and he'll die old and lonely and sad and without the respect of his children. So just steady the course, and the best way to help them is to help you. Amen. Okay, this is from Sierra Hera. And the question is, how do we reinvent and find self-love? You're welcome, Suzanne. I hope that was helpful. Y'all are still talking about food. In our family of origin, we have not learned to have healthy boundaries, or even worse. We've been trained to think of ourselves as little parents. We do not have a fundamental. I don't know what that means. How do we recognize self-love? So this is a question about how do you heal yourself and learn how to love yourself. The answer so often with recovery with narcissistic abuse is you recover slowly, a little bit at a time. And as your walls are shattered, it reveals a very broken, wounded little kid. And you cry and you talk and you get support from venues like this. And eventually, what I'm learning is in the past, I would alternate, like her sons, between arrogance and grandiosity and inner shame. And there's a sweet spot in the middle called interdependence and self-love and humility. And I wish I could bottle this and sell it and drink it myself, because there tends to be a flipping back and forth from grandiosity to shame to grandiosity to shame. So Soren says, I don't even know what self-love is. I started going to the chiropractor, the dentist. I'm guessing that is self-love, but I have no idea. Yeah, going to the chiropractor is self-love. Getting a massage is self-love. Going to the dentist. I haven't been to the dentist in about 5 years. And Kate Nadine's in the house. And I just had too much drama going on with all the narcissistic abuse. But everything has been smooth and solid. And life keeps getting better and better. And it helps when you're in a relationship with a woman who brings a lot to the table instead of a vampire who's sucking the blood out of you and the finances out of you. So is having wanting a chihuahua, that could be self-love. I tell you what, one of the best things I ever did was on August 31st of 2007, I got a beagle named Mr. Paulie from St. Paul, Indiana. And I've invested a lot of love in him, but I came home tonight from a hard day, and he comes and he goes, just carrying on with himself. It made me feel good. It made me feel like my kids used to do when they were 2 and 3. They'd come running, Daddy, 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 Daddy. So Polly is cute. So the dentist got a look at my teeth and said, dude, you've got work to do, brother. But yeah, that's definitely self-care and self-love. So there's no easy answers, Sierra Hera. Go to therapy. do meditations. Do the meditation from Camille Ravikant on a book called Love Yourself as If Your Life Depends on It. And that's what helped to install love in me. Y'all have heard me talking about it. Pretend this bottle of vitamin water is my little tiger stuffed animal. And I do my meditation snuggling with my little tiger snuggled animal, which is vitamin water tonight. And I'd say, I love myself as I breathed in. And then I'd breathe out and I'd say whatever came to mind. I love myself even though I gained 15 pounds and I'm fat. I love myself even though I'm not at the beach where I want to be. I love myself even though I'm sad and broken. I love myself even though sometimes I don't play basketball well and my hand shake. You just, whatever comes to mind. And I'm telling you what, I would do that for 7 minutes, playing a 7-minute piece of music. And it installed self-love into my brain and into my system. So I would recommend that. Diana says, my puppy makes faces and then melts your heart. And she's going to post a picture. Hi, Lori. Okay. Oh, I'm so tired tonight. So I got really early and I was up late. We went and we saw The Darkest Hour, that movie about Winston Churchill that Gary Oldman won the Academy Award for. What is up with the Academy Award show? Hi, Lois. Giving the best picture to a show about a woman falling in love with a fish. Perhaps that's a commentary that there aren't a lot of good, safe men out there, so if you find a good fish, go for it. But I was hoping that 3 Billboards won because Frances McDormand just played a fierce woman who wasn't going to be deterred, and it just was inspiring. So, okay, wild roses are addicts, narcs. Well, that's a good question. If you have an addiction, you act very narcissistic. You may not be a narcissist, but if you're addicted to sex or alcohol or drugs, you act like a very self-absorbed narcissistic person. My dad was more Asperger-ish. He was not somebody who was narcissistic at all. He was more codependent, but he was an addictive bridge player and an addictive gambler and an addictive eater and an addictive TV watcher. And somebody's addicted to coffee. Yeah, Jackie, I hear you. So, yeah, when you have an addiction, you act narcissistically. Are they connected? Why are they connected? Addiction and narcissism? Is that what you mean? It's just when you're being addictive, you're in your own little selfish world. So that's how they're connected. All right. This is from Carolina. And she writes, hello, I hope you will read this comment and reply. I would much appreciate an advice on how not to be abusive toward child knowing about my condition. I already am a mom of a 5-year-old and trying my best to control myself. Also on my way to do some DBT therapy, but I want to have at least slight control over how much of that she will absorb. I guess the child will absorb how much they will absorb of the rage. They're talking about a connection to Churchill, not about addiction. There's a Red Bull addict in the house. I want to have slight control over how much she will absorb, what I will have to do to avoid if I barely control anything. I can't just give her to anyone else. We don't have family. My partner lives in a different country, also doesn't care. I want to be as good a mom as I can, but I am aware I can bring up another person with a personality disorder. So that's the fear. So, hold it. Sarah is related to Winston Churchill? That's pretty cool. All I have is connivers, scallywags, and horse thieves in my background, I'm pretty sure. We have a bond. I can show her as much love as I can and care about her and provide all that I can. I think what I do, not like myself, is that I can't be consistent, and there is a mess in rules. I can't keep anything in order. So what I say, I oblige her to do things I cannot do myself. Out of a list I could, what I mean is I get angry if her room is untidy, but I am unable to have control over the mess in my own room. For the point of example, when I don't have even one fork to use. You know you're depressed and you're not functioning if you don't have any forks because they're all dirty. It's a bad sign. I get depressed easily. I'm unable to have healthy relationship because of instability, depression, distraction, and that mess. I try to take my meds, but if the situation is awful, even this can't help. Do you think you could have any advice for my situation? I am single, and I am a bit heartbroken that I even got pregnant. Well, what I would say is, what's her name? Carolina. You're awfully hard on yourself. You really beat yourself up, and just do the best you can. You know, if you're in a recovery process and you go to therapy and you do 12-step work and you read therapy books, and you participate in groups like this, then love your child as best you can, knowing that there's going to be some damage done. When I was 45, I was in a relationship addiction mode, and it blew up my marriage, and it hurt my children. And they lost their beautiful home with a pool, and they ended up with a little bitty condo, High Alexander, and they had their family torn apart, and it definitely harmed them. But you know what? I don't feel ashamed of that. You know why? Because I grew up with a 10 times worse environment, and I had unfinished business from my childhood that unfortunately needed to be worked out with mean, crazy chicks. And I have great remorse that my children were harmed, but I have no shame, because what I've done is provide my kids with a way healthier childhood than what I got. So rather than shame myself, I'm going to give myself a ticker tape parade. It's hard to throw the confetti and then run out under it yourself. But you should get a ticker tape parade if you leave home healthier than you left, if your kids leave home healthier than you did. So lighten up, girl, and maybe take an anger management course. But if you're raised with rage, some of it is gonna be communicated. So Sarah says what I became was cool. I'm not feeling cool tonight. I'm feeling warm by the fire. The fire is really toasty warm. Had to take my socks off. So give yourself a break, and you're depressed. Get some medication if you can. Exercise, do meditation, take walks in the sun, talk to your friends, build some friends, and love your child as best as you can, and then be ready for them. I'll be tickled pink if one of my kids comes and says, Dad, I got an issue with you. I got a therapy session. I want you to come. Lance is in the house. What's up? Denise says, I have to do dirty dishes for weeks. My wife can't stand it if... I'm talking about you, honey. She can't stand a dirty dish in the sink, and they don't bother me much at all. So she ends up doing most of them. All right, Kate. I've never attempted suicide, but I have already prayed for God to just take me. I was in my 40s. I had no idea that the horrid self-esteem I had then was due to my being neglected as a child, and also being narcissistically abused by a family member. I learned from cluster Bs only just about 3 years ago when I was 59, and the truth has set me free to heal. I am 61 and married to a good person that has apathy, which is the opposite of my empathy, and he is so laid back and calm, so I do most of the worrying. My question is, how do you distract myself in ways when I go to the refrigerator to eat more than for comfort? I need some suggestions. Kate. So Kate has not much empathy in her husband, and she goes to the refrigerator and eats. Well, Kate, I think that having a healthy recovery program and having discipline while you eat go together. One of my videos I made recently was about the 7 Ds that are involved in having a recovery lifestyle that's effective. And of course, one of them was determination. And the second one was discipline. I've lost 15 pounds since the first of the year. And the way I did that was I just got tired of being overweight, and I had a goal of feeling better. I had a goal of playing basketball with the young beasts. I had a goal of my pants fit. I couldn't get no drawers to fit my fat butt and my fat belly. So Kate Nadine wrote the 7 Ds down. Let's see if I can remember them. The first one was determination. You gotta want it. The second one was discipline. One of them was dream big. One of them was devotion or spirituality and just having passion. Y'all look up the rest of them for me, could you? The 7 Ds. Jackie says buy stretchy pants. So look up the 7 Ds, as I done forgot. Dream big. So I think I'm too short. When I was going over it with my wife the other night, I was too short. So what are the other D's that you need to have for your recovery? Y'all tell me. But Kate Nadine, when you're determined and you're on a mission, the mission is more important than the immediate satisfaction of food. All right. So me wanting to have self-respect and dignity, and be able to play basketball and be able to be in shape. My wife is hitting us with the D's: determination, discipline, deep processing. That's crying your tears, y'all. Cry them tears. You can't get healthy and thrive. Dream big. My wife and I are dreaming big. We're just scratching the surface on what this channel and our impact on the world can be, and we're dreaming real big, and we're going to get Jerry's help, and we're real excited, and it's fun. No desserts. Sarah wasn't one of the seven days. Desserts. Decisiveness. Y'all codependents, y'all aren't very decisive. My daughter, who has some issues, she has the hardest time being decisive, and she just flippy flops back and forth. And when you build a strong sense of self, then you are very decisive and you make wise decisions. Wild Roses says donuts. No, donuts are from the devil. Carbohydrates make you gain weight, and it's not worth it. So if I get hungry, I eat a piece of chicken instead of eating a donut, and I still lose weight. No donuts. And then the last one was devotion, prayer, doing meditation, having passion about your calling in the world. So donuts taste good. Addiction. Why do people do addiction? Because it's fun. Why you stay up all night and binge on Netflix? Because it's fun. Why does somebody take methamphetamine? Because it feels good. It makes the pain go away. Why does a sex addict act out? Because it's fun. But it ain't fun in the long run. Believe me, I've worked with many, many, many couples where there's been an affair. And it's not worth, the pain that you end up feeling is not worth the acting out addiction. Charlie says chicken is dank. Nah, chicken is good. So, all right. This is from Sarah. She says, why do I always think the worst in scary or emergency situations? Is it just my experience, or am I just a Debbie Downer? Why do I think the worst, or am I just a Debbie Downer? No, Sarah. That's what I made a video not long ago, and it was about it was about a form of death anxiety, which is predatorial harm anxiety. And it's just, we have been battered and beaten for so long. Carbs are poison for me as well, Kate Nadine, or who was that? Kate Nadine. So we've been battered and beaten and punched in the face and stabbed in the back, and you just expect it to continue. So when something happens, a really harmful person was making complaints, false allegations with the licensing board. They were false. She was a nutcase, and they were buying into it. And I was afraid to go to the mailbox. There might be ugly stuff in there saying bad things about me that weren't true. But you know what? The truth wins out. Truth wins out in the end, and I don't get no nasty things in the mail no more. And I feel blessed, and I really do feel thriving. Okay, Surin says feels like my ass has been beat with a switch. Most days, even sitting down is a challenge, but what choice do I have? You got to sit down every now and again. Okay, so this is Jami M. Hi, Mark. Glad to see you again. Can you tell the difference between a covert emotional incest and narcissistic abuse? I can't seem to differentiate between the two. I would think narcissistic abuse is more violent emotionally. Covert emotional incest is enmeshment. It's mommies holding on too much to their little boys, or mommies even holding on too much to their little girls, or daddies holding on to their kids too much. So, covert emotional incest looks like love. It looks like the Waltons. Whereas narcissistic abuse, eventually you realize you've been punched in the face. So I would say that's the difference. Alexander, guys, I discovered my inner child by looking at my childhood photos and noticing what an innocent guy I am as opposed to the shitty, not good enough person I was. I love that. That's awesome. And he says, I recommend that everybody look at your childhood photos. So, I have one small one, then I got one long one. I think it's Rose on the channel. I know her by a different name. Jami M., have you gotten the chance to read Kenneth Adams' book, Silently Seduced? I've met Kenneth Adams. I did some training with him. Guy's from Detroit, and a real solid guy. But no, I haven't read Silently Seduced, but it sounds like creepy. All right. Perhaps you can answer this question if there's enough time. And I don't know who it's from. I'm dating a man now for a couple of weeks. What do I tell him about my narcissistic ex? I was not married. Or do I tell him that I had therapy for years, EMDR? Sister, don't be telling people about your narcissistic ex after a couple of weeks, and tell them about your EMDR. Give it a little more time, I would say, because you're going slow, right? You're not seeing him every night. You're seeing him twice a week tops. So I wouldn't reveal too much all at once. She says, I feel vulnerable and I want to be honest. What you see is what you get. Well, you don't have to freak somebody else out and chase them away. You know, go to some movies and have some fun. And they'll have demons to talk about too. Let's just hope that they aren't narcissistic themselves. My daughter is into fragrances, like essential oils, and I got a family tree thing, and it has a little lava stone in it, and I poured lavender in it, lavender oil, and it's like when you're having a rough day, it's like just this smell is a little smell of encouragement and peace. This is recovery, just smelling something that, it's aromatherapy, if you will. Okay. Okay. Soren says, I don't tell anybody anything for about a year, and it takes a long time to hear the shit we've been through. Robert. Hey, what's up, Robert? He has a lavender candle. My brother Robert and I sniffing on the lavender tonight. All right, so rows. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. So let me give myself a lozenge. That's what David Letterman used to say. He said he's getting himself a lozenge. Lozenge. I can't even say it. You know what I mean. I think I'm falling in love again with Bob Seger. Watch yourself, Jackie. Don't fall too deeply in love with Bob Seger. All right. This is from Rose. I wanted to share a dream I had after last Tuesday night's live stream. How cool is that? Where the trauma bond was discussed. My lovely wife Brenda discussed trauma bonding. I had a doozy, she says, of a dream. Wow. This is somebody I've done therapy work with, and she does amazing work. But it's hard to afford therapy when you're in a court battle with a difficult individual. So, it was one of those dreams in which you are in the dream, but a part of you is actually watching yourself as well. Just like the story of Christmas Carol, only there was no guide, just me and the ghost me watching, horrified but unable to communicate. In the dream, my narcissistic alcoholic husband hovered me in and told me that everything was gonna be fine. That he now gets it and had arranged for himself to go into rehab and intensive therapy. And we could just go on being a couple all over again. Whew, excuse me. In the dream, I was just so relieved, but the nightmare part was that the ghost me saw what I was doing. I was hearing what I wanted to hear and diving into rescue mode and not watching behavior, just hearing the sweet talk and the grabbing onto it. The ghost me watched helpless as I put myself between my husband and my kids, enabling and secrets, and tried to convince the teenager that this time was for real and everything was gonna be okay. Watching myself do those things made the ghost me sick. The worst part was in the dream, I said to him, well, if we're all good, then I need to see your phone. He handed me the phone over and was kind of laughing and said something under his breath. It was horrible. All kinds of shocking photos of, you can guess, probably pornography. And the ghost me watched me to try to process this and think, this isn't too bad. I could deal with this. So this is a powerful dream when you're thinking about the narcissist hoovering you in, and then you actually ask for the phone, and then there's these vivid pornographic images in the phone, probably some text messages to crazy borderline chicks. I woke up late because I forgot to set my alarm and I was really groggy. You ever wonder, or you ever notice how when you dream real intensely, you wake up, you're sort of groggy? That's been my experience. I had 2 cups of coffee and I sat and processed. This was actually an amazing dream. My ghost is the me that is actually far enough along in my healing that I recognized these 6 behaviors that I was engaging in. I recognized it. Later in the week, the dream came back to me and slapped me in my face. I had to take my children, per my lawyer's advice, and drop them off to have an outing with my soon-to-be ex, the man in the dream. He was in unusually angry form. I had to drop them off and leave. He has begun grabbing me and kissing me in public at the drop-off. Then something excruciating happened. I felt flooded with a feeling of nostalgia and missing him. And she writes, WTF, what the fuck? Then I remembered the dream and a video that I had watched about the trauma bond by Karen Henry Smith just this week as well, and I cried harder because I know that this is what it is. I'm so used to only receiving shit and crumbs and being okay with it that I know now I deserve better, and so do my children. So my next assignment to myself is to get Patrick Carnes' book on trauma bonding. Patrick Carnes actually works closely with Kenneth Adams to get his book on trauma bonding, even though I really don't want to, but I know I need to. I guess this isn't a question, but a share. If there is a question somewhere, it is why it is about why the trauma bond is so deep and so crazy. Why would I feel that rush of nostalgia and good feelings about a man who is actually trying to harm us by not even supporting us at all now and is still an alcoholic and all the rest? Trauma bonding, when you get exposed to your abusive parent when you're a little bitty kid and they rage, then I've had some so sad of cases where children are exposed to parents who are abusive, and instead of running, they stayed in the room and they caretook the abusive person. And that gets seared into your soul. And then when you grow up and you're an adult and somebody comes along and they're the psychological twin of the monster who harmed you, you think they're sexy. You don't know why you think they're sexy, because somebody else may not think they're so sexy. But they're sexy to you because you sense that they're the same kind of DNA, the same kind of stuff that was so monstrous about your partner. So, hey honey, I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know if you can move a light closer. I'm sitting here in the dark. I don't know if she's watching or not. She is watching. I'm sort of high maintenance tonight, aren't I, honey? She says, yeah, I'm high maintenance. All right, so I'm through. I didn't see the wild roses question. Let's back up. Wild roses. Only thing I can come up with is how can someone be so involved in their addiction and not be a narcissist? Well, you can. There are a lot of people who they're not a narcissist, but they just are so addicted to their substance of choice that they might as well be a narcissist. But their nature. I'm watching my wife look around the room for a plug-in. She can't find it. Where's the plug-in? So, no, just because you have an addiction and you act narcissistic doesn't necessarily define you forever as a narcissist. You might be able to get in recovery, overcome your addiction, and have empathy and compassion in your heart and not really be narcissistic. How do we put an end to that? Soren says, I know exactly what you're talking about. I hate being attracted to crazy. Well, Soren, it's really hard. We are deeply wired to be attracted to somebody who's very much like the person who hurt us the most. Hey, look, there's light. Thank you, honey. I don't know if that's an improvement because they can see my face or if it was better when I was in the dark. So I know for me, the cure was shattering me to within an inch of my life and having it almost kill me and destroy my practice and destroy my finances and destroy my reputation. Okay. Ellie says, you think they are sexy because they are putting on a mask and then it slips later, much later in most cases. You don't really think they're sexy because of their mask. In your heart of hearts, you know who they are. You know they're the freaking devil, unconsciously. Don't think that a narcissist can put on a mask and you pick the wrong person. All right? You're drawn to the devil. You're a moth drawn to the flame. And you don't know what you're doing consciously, but unconsciously, you know who they are. And that's why you think that they are sexy. Alexander, Mark, did you ever talk about the mother wound? I did. You know what's interesting is I made this video, the 10 ways borderline mothers can wound their children. And I get halfway through and the iPad stops. And I was about ready to share a poem I read at my mother's funeral. And that video sat pretty neglected and unwatched for a long time. But this past 6 months, there's such a hunger for understanding borderline personality disorder and understanding mothers who were borderline that video is it's getting hundreds of thousands of minutes of viewing, and it's become by far and away our number one video. So yes, I do talk about the mother wound, so just check out the channel. There's probably 4 or 5 videos about mother wounding. Ellie says, when you feel the attraction, don't act on it, just observe it and it will start showing up. That's good advice, Ellie Gray. Good advice is have a healthy skepticism. Know this, if you think they're sexy, they're the devil. And if they're not the devil, then slowly let them prove it to you. But just assume they're the devil or the daughter of the devil himself. Here's Sarah Bellum. She says, hey. Tiffany says, I figure if I'm attracted to them, they should be avoided at all costs. Jackie says, why do I always feel like I'm fighting off the world? I don't know, Jackie. Sometimes for me, there are seasons like that when life is a slugfest. You know, you're just getting beat from all directions. But you know what I found out is if you're determined and you dream big and you know you have devotion, and you have discipline, then you get better, and you can thrive, and you can be blessed, and you can be happy, and you can help people. You can have a little skip in your step. So, yeah, I do see the light. Thanks to my wife, I see the light. Kate Nadine says, I truly believe the egotistical people can literally feel our empathy and walk over us like a rug. And I would just change that by, we let them do it. They don't just do it to us, we let them do it. Hi, Stacy. She says, my psychopath ex still stalks me. Horrifying. God bless you. Hey, did anybody see ITanya? I didn't see it, but everybody's been telling me it's a killer borderline movie or narcissist movie. So if anybody has a movie breakdown of ITanya, I want to see. She was up, the actress was up for an Academy Award, and I think the mom in ITanya won the Best Supporting Actress. So I got to see that movie. So Ginger had a car accident? Sorry about that. That sucks. So Ginger, you've been back with him for a week, and it's been the worst mistake ever. Kelly says, why does music from the past bring me down and make me feel depressed? I love new music. It's probably just a trigger. There's various pieces of music. My former fiance, borderline, would dance at bars a lot, and there's certain dance songs that trigger me. But the older nostalgic songs probably just bring up the past. I was afraid I'd get hungry, so I brought me some pistachios. I'm going to eat some pistachios while we talk. Jackie doesn't want to be brought down. Leslie says, so sexy people are the devil? When I was in my addiction, when I was emotionally starved and vulnerable, almost every woman that I who was borderline or narcissist, I developed just a intense interest and obsession with, and they all turned out to be the devil. So I'm not saying that for all of you it's that intense, but most of us have been through a very similar experience, haven't we? Soren says, I told my therapist, and I said I'm completely suspect of a person when they turn on me. It's like a natural warning system. That person is nuts. What's the old saying? When somebody tells you who they are, believe them the first time. But that's not what we do. A narcissist tells us who they are, and we ignore it, and we ignore it, and we ignore it, because we don't really want to know the truth. So y'all are sharing good questions. Wild Roses, can we ask questions not related to narcissism? Of course you can. If not, will you do a live video for adult children of alcohol? So what's the question, Wild Roses? I did do a video about adult children of alcoholics. It's called The 20 Symptoms of Adult Children of Alcoholics. It's a two-parter, and I think it's one of them is in our top 5 or 6 ever in views on our channel. So it's a popular topic. So what's the question? Is it about adult children of alcoholics? Which is a great movie. ITanya. Did you see it, Jackie? I gotta rewatch Mommy Dearest. Some of those older movies like Gaslight and Mommy Dearest, I gotta rewatch them. Y'all are watching me eat nuts. I'm nuts. Kelly Wood says everyone should watch Goodfellas, and you know how to deal with all your narcs. That was a brutal movie. Goodfellas. Man, it was just so vicious. And how about The Sopranos? I love The Sopranos. The sessions between Tony and his therapist were just like priceless. Classic television. Just a vicious, narcissistic, mind-fucking mother and a total narcissistic, wounded little boy's son. Wicked. Alexander says, Mark, how did you experience narcissistic rage? How did it make you feel as a child? Well, I would say I first experienced narcissistic rage in the first 3 weeks of my life because when I was born, I was set out in the backyard and let to scream. And I wasn't held and I wasn't fed. And I screamed bloody murder. I had narcissistic rage. And then I really didn't feel it for 55 years until I started dating a woman who was the psychological clone of my mother. And she lied and cheated and misrepresented herself so much that it shattered all my defense mechanisms. And what was underneath? Narcissistic rage. And I'm lucky I didn't beat somebody up or, stab somebody with a knife, because I was filled with narcissistic rage. From way deep down, from when I was, very young little kid. Jackie says, ITanya, yes, great movie. You might want to go through the screen and punch your mother in the face. The mother is the one, I forget her name, but it's somebody that we've seen in tons of movies. But, yeah, she won the Academy Award. She got up to give her acceptance speech, and maybe she was in character. She got up in front of everybody and she said, I did it all myself. So Kelly Wood says Goodfellas is one of your favorite all-time movies. What does that say about you? Bada bing, bada boom. Well, Silence of the Lambs is my favorite movie. What does that say about me? A nice Chianti and some fava beans. It was a good scene. Okay, so how about we do some check-ins? Because I got through all the questions. And so does anybody have a check-in? They just want to share from your heart what's going on with you? And yeah, I love that movie, Silence of the Lambs, because it has the all-time best bad guy, Hannibal Lecter. That sounded like the scene in Silence of the Lambs. I've watched it so many times I've got it down. Hi, Marlene. Are you enjoying this? Welcome to the party. Stacy's trying to get the guts to leave her narcissistically abusive relationship, and it takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of guts. It takes time. It takes fire in your belly. It takes self-respect and dignity. I'll knock the camera over. Okay. So Jackie's check-in, she says, I'm having a terrible week. And she's not joking. Normally Jackie's joking. Jackie, what's terrible about your week, girl? Jennifer Lee, I'm nervous and stressed. My son was in sunlight. He had a seizure-like episode. His white blood count is abnormally high, and we can't find out. I'm sorry, Jennifer. It sounds horrific. Sounds horrific. Kate Nadine checked in. I'm binging on breadsticks one late night evening watching Hallmark movies. I'm right back exercising and doing okay. And she says, I love this support group. Well, Brenda and I love this support group too. Stacy's gonna pray for y'all. So Rose said she's been feeling very flat since the doozy dream. So Rose, that makes sense, because it was such a powerful dream, and so your unconscious is trying to level things out. So I understand that. So probably where you should be, Rose. Alexander's going to check in. I'm now realizing my mother is fully egotistic and nothing she does happens out of my best interest. I realize everything she does is narcissistically motivated, and that took me a while. I'm glad you're seeing it, Alexander. Sarah Bellum checking in. I'm feeling my feelings for the first time in 52 years, and I'm grateful. Sarah, that's awesome. It's hard. It's hard to feel painful feelings, but that's great. Jennifer says, where's Renda today? She just needed a break. The last 2 weeks, she's really poured her heart and soul into the show, and she just needed a break. So you got the B team tonight, not the A team. So, did you see my question? Rose, I thought I answered your question. Did you have another question? I'm backing up looking for Wild Rose's question. Is this a question you ask Soren, or a question you ask the group? So let me know, Wild Roses, if you have a question for me or for the group. Oh, somebody had to be timed out. Way to go, Kelly Wood. You're on it. Ellie Gray's check-in. When do you get away from, when you do get away from the narcissist, it seems to never end via legal proceedings. That's true. There's a legal proceeding haunting us from 2014. And it's silly. And it's going to be dismissed. Soren says, I think Wild Roses feels like her father's alcoholism was her fault. How do you get rid of that feeling? How do you get rid of that feeling? Learn about shame. If you guys haven't really read Healing the Shame That Binds You by John Bradshaw, or read shame books by Brene Brown. But if you got a lot of shame in you, you're going to believe a lot of crap that's just not true. Wild Roses. How do I stop blaming myself for the neglect from my grandmother? I feel like if I was lovable and good enough, she would stop drinking and take care of me. Oh, yeah. You need to, Wild Roses, heal the shame that binds you. And reading John Bradshaw's book, Healing the Shame That Binds You, is like if you have a critical parent or a critical grandparent or an abusive parent or withholding parent, that voice gets in your head and then you use it on yourself. Okay, we got a story out about Donald Trump. Porn star Stormy Daniels sues President Trump. She allegedly had a sexual relationship with President Trump, and she's suing him, saying the hush agreement that silenced the story was invalid. Daniels hired a civil suit in Los Angeles Superior Court contending that the non-disclosure agreement she signed was invalid because Trump never signed it. The lawsuit is the first time Daniels has openly admitted having a hush agreement to cover up her relationship with Trump. Sounds like Donald Trump to me. Rose, you got to go crash or go take care of your kiddos. So thank you for the good dream. It was a killer doozy dream. And so I hope you sleep well, and I hope you're not haunted by the ghost of Christmas past. So Jennifer's saying goodnight. Okay. Maria Livingston, I'm finally breaking free from a man who is sick, and I don't know what. He is closed and depressed and angry. I am through. Well, I hope you can hold on to your being through, because it's good to be through with such a character as you describe. Do you think that Donald Trump exhibits narcissistic rage in the White House? I think Donald Trump exhibits more narcissistic adolescent rage than any president in the history of our country. That's what I think. Diana, her check-in, I'm uptight because I can't read anything for more than 2 minutes. My eye goes blurry and doesn't return sight as I have macular degeneration. Facebook is the only way I communicate with my family. That sucks. That's a terrible thing to have macular degeneration. Kelly Wood, check-in number 2. Tired of someone always thinking that I am stupid and don't know when they're trying to manipulate me. When I rush back and pretend they don't know what I'm going to do and I am being reasonable. Alexander, does Trump have wire hangers in his closet? I have no idea what that means. Can anybody explain that to me? Karen Dolan, Mark, your voice was the first voice that got through to me after my shattering a year and a half ago. Thank you so much. I'm glad to see you happy. Well, thank you, Karen. It's such a blessing to be able to use words and use metaphors and use pictures to be able to reach people who've been shattered. It's a joy. It's a real joy. Oh, Mommy Dearest, the wire hangers. Got it. Got it. Little Miss, thank you for suggesting Jerry Wise and his focus on ACOAs. Like I said, Jerry's more of an expert on adult children of alcoholics than I am. I really need to revisit Mommy Dearest. Is it on Netflix? Does anybody know? Kelly Wood is smacking this trollage person around. Way to go, Kelly Wood. She put her in timeout for 300 seconds. That's good. Good night, Wild Roses. Hey, what time is it? I don't even know what time it is. I'm gonna check the clock. It's 9:41, and we started about an hour and a half ago. So, and listen, I'm tired. I had a long day. I started at 8 o'clock, and like I said, I had 2 catastrophic explosions in my office today. It sounds worse than what it really was. I'm gonna sign off and have a little dinner, although I'm already full of nuts. But Alexander, it's 3:42 in the morning in Germany. My brother is committed to his recovery. Thank you for staying up till 3:42 in the morning. Sarah says I start at 8:42 get up time and out. Okay, Karen says good night. Have a good night, everyone, says Diana. Good night, Mark and Rand. Thanks for all you do. I love you guys. It's only 9:42 in Toronto, Canada, and it's only 9:42 in Indianapolis, Indiana. So in 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks, Marie Livingston, this will happen next Tuesday about 8 o'clock. and Jerry Wise will be here, and Renda Smith will be here, and Mark Smith will be here. So, anyway, I enjoyed this. I enjoy our little fireplace chats, and I do love you guys, and thank you for tuning in, and thank you for watching. And yes, good luck to Renda on her radio show. We'll be able to say to Renda that we knew her when she was, not a big star. So so Stephen, you're welcome for the soothing chat. Have a wonderful week. Nurture yourself, exercise, do your meditations, get enough sleep, stay away from carbohydrates, and pet your dog. All right. Have a great week, and we will see you next week with Jerry Wise and with Renda. God bless.